Show of hands, yes. Okay. Who's using CAT tools?
WordFast.
WordFast. What else are we using? Trados, good.
Omega T.
Omega T. Interesting. Okay, haven't heard about
The very good, free software.
free software. Okay, well, you get what you paid for or not paid for. So here we go. So here's a little overview of the agenda today. I'll be introducing you all to Trados Studio 2017. This is the latest version of Trados Studio, which is our market-leading translation productivity software. Then we'll move on to the basic overview of the core components of Trados Studio and explore these key translation resources and explain their importance. Some of these resources include translation memory, Termbase and terminology, machine translation, and the SDL AppStore. I'll then move into Studio 2017, product demonstration. We'll just do a quick overview, creating a project. Oh yes, snap, everyone. Okay. Anyway, then we will have a brief question and answer session with my colleague Kathleen here to assist when necessary. So we'll just get started. So why do so many translation professionals still choose SDL Trados Studio? Trados has been in the translation software market for a very long time. A few years ago, we actually celebrated the 30th anniversary of the birth of Trados, so you can trust that our translation software is definitely thoroughly tried and tested. SDL Trados Studio 2017 is the 5th edition of Studio software, which is used by over 250,000 translation professionals worldwide. So by becoming a Studio user, you're joining the largest translation community in the world. And we have lots of different areas where you can speak with these other Trados users, questions and find out best practices through our SDL community. So that's constantly being monitored by our technology gurus, and so if you post a question, you'll usually hear from Paul Filkin, which is he knows absolutely everything. It's amazing. If any of you are going to the ATA this year in DC, he will be there, so that'll be a good opportunity to meet some more SDL people. But anyway, with SDL Trados Studio, you can also enjoy having all of the tools you need for translation, review, terminology management, and machine translation all in one central environment. You can also take advantage of a variety of features that help speed up your translations, build assets that you can then use again to increase your quality of your output and making it more consistent, like with the terminology. So we'll move on to the key translation resources. Since most of you are not familiar with CAT tools, CAT stands for Computer Assisted Translation Tool and is a computer program that will help translate text documents more efficiently. A CAT tool saves all of your previous translations, so you can reuse these translations in future projects. A CAT tool works by using 4 main functions. First, after the document is uploaded into Studio, the text will be translated. The text that will be translated is divided into segments. These are usually sentences or headings, whatever it may be. And Studio will present you the source text segments in a grid to then make the translating process easier. So essentially, when you're given a document, Studio will extract only the text, so you don't have to worry with formatting or images or anything like that. You're just strictly translating. The source segment and the corresponding translation of each segment, so the target text, is saved as a pair, and this is called a translation unit. So the source and the target, that is a translation unit that is then saved into the memory for future reuse. The segment in the, so the translation units are then in the translation memory. It's best, sorry about that. There we go. Your translation units are saved in the TM as you work. So it's best to think of a TM as a database for storing all of your translations. They can be reused for any other text or even in the same text to help you complete the new translation projects faster. So this saves time and effort and again improves the consistency. A translation memory is created in SDL Trados Studio, so that's the core component, which we'll get into. The fourth basic function of a CAT tool is the automatic lookup in the terminology database. How many of you are managing terminology? Do you have clients who send you lists that they... Okay, so this would be a perfect example for those clients that do... how many freelance translators do we have? Okay, majority, perfect. So yeah, you can set up Termbases in Studio if a particular client sends you this, and then you can apply those terms in that particular term base to all projects that have to do with that client. So again, you're guaranteeing that you're giving them the best output and their terminology. They're not going to have as many corrections and so on. So yeah, we'll go here, that's the main component. So this slide shows you the main resources you can use in Trados Studio, and I'll be covering these further in the slides to come. The first two, at the top here, I just wanted to use my laser. The translation memory and the term base are, those are databases. So those are what are going to be stored in files on your computer. The translation memory is again, the core component of Trados Studio and any CAT tool for that matter, and stores your translations in segments, then available for reuse. We've covered that. And then the term base is, again, for the managing of the terminology. I think we should just get into that. And then I'll just go down to machine translation. You know, a lot of people cringe at machine translation. Does anyone utilize machine trans? Or you don't like to admit to that, right? That's bad. Well, a really cool thing came out with Studio 2017, and it's called AdaptiveMT. So within SDL has its own its own machine translation version. You know, it's our equivalent to Google Translate, which is called Language Cloud. So what AdaptiveMT does is whenever you use Language Cloud in a project, so say you get a new project, there's nothing from your translation memory, so you're basically just starting from scratch, you can use machine translation to populate the document. Obviously, you have to go through and post-edit. You can't trust machine translation. But when you create an AdaptiveMT engine within Studio, it will remember your post-edits. So you're going through and you're changing everything you want to change, and then it'll remember like your style. And so you're basically getting a custom. It's in the arena of something called neural machine translation. That is where a lot of people are investing in research and development to get smarter output from machines. But the way we're doing that is, it's not taking over the job of the translator, but again, it's just an added resource to help you get through these projects quicker, so you can learn from and again, it's another way to build a translation memory quicker. So if you don't have any past translations, or you're starting from scratch, an empty bucket of no translation memory, you can again use the machine translation, and a great way to build it. So, and then we'll move to the AppStore. So for anyone who has Studio, it's very feature rich. Like it can sometimes be intimidating, but I mean, it's great to have all these options, right? So there's just so many different options. Everyone works differently. There's different files, and I mean, I don't even know everything that you guys do, but there are, in order to make Studio run faster, we can't put all of these features into it, it'll just overdo it. So think of the SDL App Store like the App Store on your phone. You can't, maybe some people don't like Words with Friends, so they don't want to put that on the right out of the box when you get your iPhone, but so basically for certain features you can extend your Studio functionality by going to the AppStore, downloading the app. For example, there's one called Web Lookup. So like I said, Studio is everything you need in one environment, right? You can review, you can translate, you can manage your terminology, but with Web Lookup, instead of having to go out of Studio and open up a browser to, look up a definition, this app you can click on right within Studio. It'll bring up a little box. You can type in whatever you want to look up, like I said, like if it's a definition or you need an image. So again, that just extends the functionality, making it even easier to, just get everything done in one area. So here is a view. I know it's kind of small, but that's why we'll get to the demo. But this is a look of the editor environment within Studio. Like I said, here is that is the source, and then this is where you do your corresponding translation. So this is like the translation memory, like we're building our translation memory. Yeah, it's really useless you can't see anything. I might just get into showing you it. But I will touch on this because when you start building your translation memory, obviously you're not going to have the same segments like over and over. And that's where you get fuzzy matches. So that means, okay, Studio recognizes that you have something similar like this. So the statement might be getting started with, or whatever, just think of I can't even think of something to example, but you can get different results. For example, the first one would be, obviously a new translation. There's nothing found in your memory. Then you would come to a fuzzy match, which means, okay, this segment is kind of like something previously, but maybe you have to add a word or remove a word. So then you would get a percentage. And so if it's just like, oh, you've done something like this before, but you have to add to do and take out didn't do, that would be like maybe an 80% match. So it notifies you, it shows you exactly what the difference is, you just make that change and move on, and then you can save that new adjustment into the memory, so then you just got even more memory. Then you got the 100% match, which means, okay, obviously that means the segment is exactly the same as a previous segment, but it suggests that you still review it because the context around that segment is not the same. Which brings me to the context match, which means that's a perfect match. The segment before and the segment after that particular segment we're working on is exactly the same as the previous document, so you know that doesn't need any review, that's exactly the same. So those are the different TM matches. So some additional features that will help you leverage your existing translation assets. So for those who are not currently using a tool, but you have tons of previously translated documents, you can use the alignment tool. So basically you open Studio, you upload your English document, and then you upload the corresponding Spanish translation. It'll align it, and it'll show you a page, and it'll have like, okay, this is, and it'll extract what it finds as the segment pairs. So you can go through and, double check that. And if you're fine with that, or if you checked it all, you can add that to a memory. So you're building your memory right away. So you're not losing what you've done previously or having to retype it. So it's just a quick way to build a memory. Context match, this gives you what we call, that's the concordance search, is when no segment match is found in your TM. So Studio performs a search based on like a particular word or phrase, and this happens automatically in Studio. So if you're like, oh, I know I translated this, and but it's not coming up, so you can just kind of check your TM or the document and find out where you used it before or how you translated it before. So it's just like an easy way to look up. I've already spoken about the terminology, but this is a view of so with every Trados Studio license, you also get access to multi-term, SDL multi-term, which is a whole nother separate download, but like I said, it is integrated in Studio, but that's where you are going to manage your terminology. So you see you can have various languages, and you can have an image, you can put, and I'll show you how to add a term on the fly. Like when you're translating, you're like, oh, I want to add this term, and we can add it to our term base right away. But, you know, term bases I think a lot of you said you're not even managing any terminology, but this is obviously like specific words for a particular client, industry jargon, brand names. You want to make sure a good example is like Apple, the company. So you don't want to translate apple to fruit, you know, you just want to make sure you have that translator knows, okay, this is terminology, and so it'll be notified when you come across, if you're translating a document, you come to Apple, it'll say, oh, this is found in the term base, this is how you need to translate it. It takes the guesswork out. I mean, it's just right there for you, you know, that's what the client wants, and so let's put it in. So there's additional productivity features. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Formatting. So Studio takes the pain out of formatting. It splits the text. It takes that, and as soon as you're done with the translation in Studio, and you save it into its native file format, and you'll see, oh, okay, I didn't have to do anything else. It just puts it right back in there. There's also something called a real-time preview. So again, within Studio, you don't have to, save it and see where you are in the document. It'll generate within Studio a real preview, so you can see where you are in the document, what you translated and what you haven't. Again, show you that in the demo. AutoSuggest. This is a really cool feature. It's just like what you have on your smartphone. You know, sometimes we don't like that autocorrect or whatever, but if you're typing a word in Studio and, like German, for example, I mean, all those words are super long, and like, so you can just, it'll come up and you just hit enter, yes, okay, like you start. So that's a cool feature you can turn on or off, but it definitely is a time saver, less keystrokes and saving time. Quick place, again, there's tons of keyboard shortcuts, and Studio is totally customizable, so there's certain, if you're doing a lot of translations that have a lot of numbers and this and that, so you would benefit from this quick place. Just a control comma, and it'll insert the numbers, however you make it like specific. For example, like when you're in Europe, they do the dates, like the day and then the month, and so you can like set, and then you can like make that a setting so that you can just quick place it in there. Again, saving time. And then real-time quality assurance and spell check. It'll let you know when things are misspelt. So, before we get into the demo, I am just going to go over how this process works. So where the resources come in, and then show you how to use the specific features that I've mentioned to make sure you're doing everything correctly. So let's pretend a client has sent you a Word document, which is in English, and they would like this translated into French. So this is the document they send us. Firstly, we're going to open the document in Studio, and this will create a new project. We will then need to add our translation resources, i.e. the translation memory, the term base, and after some people like gets to you and they're like, there's nothing, I'm not getting any suggestions. It's just, That's not the point, because you haven't built up your memory yet. You have to build your memory, and then you're going to start getting suggestions the more you use Studio. So you want to make sure you're always adding a TM, because otherwise you're just translating in a fancier environment and not getting anything from it. But don't worry, Studio will always remind you when you open a new project to add a TM. So you always, I know my mom, she'll just like click anything. I'm like, well, did you read it? Like, you have to read what it says and then like follow the instructions. So it's just part of the process, but once you get used to it, it'll be more common nature, or like, just, yeah. So from there, you add the TM, add all the resources. The file you work in is then converted. So when you open the Word file, you open it in Studio, it's then converted to an SDL XLIF file, which is the native bilingual file for Studio. Where's my mouse? Studio automatically creates this file for you and breaks up the text into the segments. So when you translate as you're working through the segments, Studio will be searching the memory or the terms. So this is, again, just goes with the process. And then, so you're translating. And then after you're done translating, you you move the SDL XLIF into the final translation, and then you just send it out. So hopefully that didn't confuse everyone, but that is the process. And then finally, some reasons we want to choose SDL. Tons of free learning resources. Obviously you can pay for like specific online training, like with an instructor and this and that, but we have tons of free videos, webinars on a monthly basis on various topics. For example, we just did a Getting Started with Trados Studio. So basically it's an hour long, but it was geared towards new users, and it shows you all the basic steps, so you can watch that over and over. And then the YouTube channel has lots of shorter videos that are on like, okay, how do you create a translation memory or a term base, or how do you convert my glossary to, so there's lots of different things. Regular networking, we have annual road shows. We do about 6 a year, 3 in the fall and 4, depends, and then we do them in the spring in various cities. We're in Montreal next month, and come to Toronto sometimes too. So always check out the website. We're always, or join our mailing list to get information on when we're coming to your area. Again, the SDL AppStore, this is unique to SDL. No one else in the industry has this. Again, it's just a way to increase your functionality to work for you. A global presence. We have, SDL has 55 offices in 35 countries. We are a global company, everyone, so you can ensure that you're always able to find help or support from someone in your country. You're not, so the time frames, like, we have something called PSMA, which is a premium software maintenance agreement. That is an annual agreement. It gets you free support, so if you decide you don't want to just figure it out on your own, you can have a support access that gives you a phone number, and then you can log tickets, like you just being like, oh, I don't know how to do this, and then you'll send it, or you're getting an error message, and then someone from our support team will get back to you. And then finally, partnerships. We have an SDL, an LSP partnership, and a university partnership. We have some students in here. Anyone a student? Yeah. Oh, okay. Very good. So yeah, we work with universities to help instructors implement SDL into their foreign language curriculum. Translation is one of the fastest growing careers in the country, just with the growing demand to translate everything and hit your global audience. All these major companies need to have these translations available and, quickly and localized, and they want it. So this is, we want to make sure the students are prepared and ready to be successful in the industry. And now we'll go to the demo. Any questions at this point? Sure.
My question has to do with the confidentiality with respect for my author rights in the glossaries that I'm creating and the samples that I'm creating. Who has access to that and in what form?
You decide who has access. So when you have a glossary or a term base, it is saved locally on your computer. So it's your, is that not addressing your question?
No, it has to do with the work that I'm doing on SDL. How is that respected? And also the fact that just about all the work that I do in translation is extremely confidential.
Yeah.
And I don't want snippets of it appearing anywhere else in the system for the public.
Exactly. No, everything done in SDL is private. We don't retain any information. Same with the machine translation. Like, for example, if you put your stuff through Google Translate, they save your content. Ours, we don't store any content. So the confidentiality is, complete. Yeah. Yes.
Actually, when I tried the SDL last year, it wasn't available for Mac. But right now, is it available for Mac users?
So we don't have like Well, I mean, there's a workaround. You can download Parallels or Boot Camp onto your Mac, which will allow you to run a Windows operating system on your Mac. So there's plenty of people out there who have a Mac and use Studio. It is possible.
So it's just not specifically designed for Mac.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a Windows operating. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir, in the back.
It's been a good experience using SDL for a while, almost 10 years now. But I'm wondering, because I realized now 2 or 3 versions are less accessible to screen readers and stuff like that. I'm not sure if that problem has been solved or if it's going to be solved.
So you're saying when you're working with previous versions?
It was working with screen readers, it was accessible, so it was really a great job. Recently, I realized it's not a lot of screen readers. Here I mean accessibility-wise, like it used to have keystrokes and keyboard shortcuts and stuff. But now I think it's going, I'm not sure. In 2014, it was not very accessible. I'm not sure if it's going to be accessible in the version or not.
Yeah, unfortunately I had a hard time hearing you, but we have a microphone coming your way.
Wait, Mckenzie, I'm coming.
Yeah, Kathleen, did you catch any of that? I mean, I know, okay, is it more accessible?
Sorry.
That's okay.
No,
I should have said something.
I was saying it's a good experience using SDL for almost 10 years, and the older versions were really more than excellent, and I've been using them. They had very good keystrokes and keyboard shortcuts. They worked well with screen readers. Recently, I have realized that the accessibility of SDL has not been compromised. I mean, it's going. Somehow it's not what was there in the older versions. So I'm asking if it's going to be accessible to the new versions. Is there anything that is being done to address that issue?
Regarding the shortcuts, right?
Regarding the accessibility in general, because the text couldn't be read with some screen readers.
Yeah, well, there's a way in Studio you can set different shortcuts, like make them unique to you. Is that addressing it? Screen readers. I don't know much about the screen readers. I'm sorry. I can find out for you though. So I'm happy to take your information and get that to you. But we definitely appreciate 10 years of being a Studio user, that's for sure. So thank you for that. But I'll have to get back to you on the screen reading component. Thank you. Yes?
I purchased the system about 2 years ago, or I think 2+, and my languages are Punjabi and Hindi. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been able to work with it so far. I did I did get the ticket and I got the same email. Go this, I do take the responsibility. I am technically challenged, so I'm trying to make it work. And now, I'm a member of ATO, and we have built a relationship with SDL. And now my understanding is that you have to buy the support. Is it true?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an annual cost for the software, for the PSMA is an annual cost, but like I had mentioned earlier, we have the webinars, and there's a knowledge base. So it is, if you're not purchasing the support access, it is up to you to kind of do the searching and post your questions in the community and that type of thing.
I have attended webinars, and do you have any information on this, that how does it work with the non-European languages?
How does it work with non-European language? You're asking how 2017 works?
Punjabi, Hindi, these Urdu, these languages.
Like how does Studio...
How successful, let's say, it has been with those languages?
I believe it's successful. I haven't heard any complaints about it. I knew there were some issues with the Japanese and like Chinese, the vertical languages, but I believe those have been addressed in the SR1, which is the service release pack that just came out in last month or something for 2017. But I don't know, do you have any, haven't heard much feedback about that. Yes.
For years I've been using the free version of WordPress.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a free version that we could use to be familiar with the software?
Yes, we do have a 30-day trial available.
30 days.
Yes, on our website. I know. We do have a starter version, which is smaller cost. You're not getting the full functionality of Studio, but it is a good. I don't know offhand how much it is, but the starter version of Studio.
For a year, it's 150 or 200, I think, Canadian.
Okay.
No.
So, no?
No, it's more than that.
For the starter version, it's different than the freelance version. Yeah.
I'm comfortable.
We use SDL for educational purposes in class, and so I'd like for you to speak a little bit more about the Language Cloud, which is the new feature, right? The
Yes.
AdaptiveMT?
Yes.
So how exactly does it interact with the
Yes.
memory, and where does that, what kind of MT is it? There are different kinds of, what kind of machine translation is it? There are different kinds?
Yes, so the AdaptiveMT, we've had a few universities lately, who have upgraded to 2017 and want to take advantage of the AdaptiveMT feature. So you would just, Kathleen is the one you would want to work with this. Are you part of Toronto? What university are you part of?
Language Cloud.
Okay. Yes, so you would then just purchase more because there's one AdaptiveMT engine with every account. So if you have 30 students and you want them all to have access to this AdaptiveMT, you would purchase 29 additional AdaptiveMT engines, and then they can each create their own, when they're using Studio, they have their own AdaptiveMT and it's learning from their post edits. You buy also Language Cloud characters, so that's like you're given 40,000 free characters of language. Do you have a Language Cloud account?
No, this is something I'm learning.
Okay, cool. So,
Sorry, I'm more interested, not so much of what I have to buy and what I don't have to buy. How does it interact with the technical aspect of how it interacts with the memory, and what kind of machine translation is it?
Oh, okay. Well, it's all SD. So it's I wish I could. It's SDL's system, and then so Language Cloud is affiliated with your online SDL account. You just create a Language Cloud account, and then everything is managed within that Language Cloud account. I may not be able to answer your technical questions about it. Next time I'll bring our technical person, but I'm happy to take names and numbers, and I can definitely get you a response. Sir?
You mentioned in passing that I have a nice loud voice.
Yes, I heard that.
You mentioned in passing that you could use Studio for reviewing your translation after you finished it.
Yes.
Are you going to be showing that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so maybe I shouldn't have asked for questions because we'll just get into the demo if that's cool. Do people want that, and then we can address questions? Okay, cool. But yes, you can, so with the review, group share is one of our collaboration, it's our server solution to allow teams to work together. So everything is central with group share. Speaking of universities, Middlebury just is in the process of implementing group share to show how the project management thing goes, but I'll talk to you about that later. So yeah, the review process, you can basically go through the quality assurance, you know, again, we'll just show you how it goes. But yeah, it's all done in there. So just bear with me a second. Okay. So, nope, I think I got it here. So when you open Studio, this is what the welcome screen. This is the first thing you're going to see. On the left side here, so you'll see, you know, welcome, and then we've got the projects, files. You can open a project that is sent to you. Then here's the group share project I had mentioned earlier, and then a quick access here to Language Cloud. There's a video you can watch, you know, lots of videos available. We've got, and then when we move up here, we have the Get Started. This is an additional resource for new users. If you like videos, we've got those, or if you, the Quick Start Guide. I mean, these are very, very helpful. So they're there. Perfect. So then, okay, that's the getting started, more resources. Here's a quick link to the SDL AppStore, you know, again, more release notes, and then we're always updating the latest news here to find out more. So when we go through, oh, I'll show you up here at the top, the ribbon up here, this is where you would align your documents. Simply, you know, if you have a single file pair or multiple files you want to align at one time. Upgrading moves, so we can just move down here. If I move to the projects view, this is where you can see all of my active projects. I have one project here. If I click on that, you'll notice that in the left hand here, it went down from projects to the files view. So these are all the files that are in this particular project. You can hit this, and then it shows the progress, how much how much you've done, and you'll see we have some Word and PDF or PowerPoint, XML, lots of different file formats. We hit the reports view, you can generate this. It's a way, so for each file you can see how many words there are, how much you leveraged from your translation memory. So a little variety of different information you can find there. And then finally the editor view, which we'll get into, so I'll just jump right into it. So we're going to translate a pretty basic PowerPoint file here. You'll see we've got like a heading and some different formatting with the bolding, some dates and times. And so we'll translate this simply by, you can click here and browse your files, or you can drag and drop, but I'll just do my sample here. So it'll Okay, here we are, sample answering machine. We can create a new project, or I'm just going to translate a single document because it's just real quick. That's just a previous project I've had. So we're starting from scratch here. That's for Language Cloud. So this is where you can access Language Cloud if you want to add that to it. But here is where you're going to pick your source and target language. Back there, someone had asked me about that. So I'm going to be working from English, but obviously here we support a variety of languages and different variances. So up here, it's going to tell you you're recently used, so you're not having to scroll through this long list every time you want to do a project. So I'm going English, and we'll do Spanish, Spain. This is where you would add your resources that we discussed, your translation memory or your term base. But, so you would just, I'm going to create one, so you guys can see that whole process. So we're going to create a translation memory. It's a very simple process, so anyone who has, this is the first thing you would want to do if you got Studio. So you would name your translation memory. I'm just going to do, this is my English to Spanish translation memory. You can put a dictionary, a description if it's a particular client. Some people, you can have one translation memory for everything, or you can have multiple translation memories. It's really up to you and how you work best. But you always want to make sure you know where you're saving it, because people just save things and then they can't find it. So I am saving mine under my sample, my desktop sample files. So we'll go next. This is just, different, dates. And I'm just, for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to keep it at the default settings. You can create a template, so you don't have to go through the different, if you work in a particular language often with a particular client, you can have these defaults ready, so you just go in and get the job done. So we'll just finish. Okay, my translation memory has been created. Remember, this is empty. I just created, there's nothing, so I'm not going to get any suggestions just yet. And that's perfect. And let's see, let's add a term base. We'll get to that. But okay, so let's hit OK and get to getting. So this is the editor environment. Completely customizable. You can make this bigger. You can move this anywhere if you have two screens. But this up here is the translation memory results window. So when you have a match, that is where you're going to see it appear. So we'll just, I don't speak, so I have my translation here. Configurar. So you'll see this is the AutoSuggest and action. It gets these suggestions from you can create an AutoSuggest dictionary with, I believe it's you have to have a certain number, maybe it's 10,000 translation units in order to, anyway, I like this, so I'm gonna Mokina, and then Contestadora. All right, I am happy with this translation. I am going to hit Control-Enter, which confirms it. You'll see this little check mark that is added right here. That means it's been confirmed and added to the memory. Let me just see.
They are.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'll probably mess up a lot with this. But it's easy. Okay, look, I want to make that adjustment. I'll just hit Control-Enter, and the correction has been made to
It's
my.
underlined red, so you can right-click on it, and it will give you the correct spelling, I think.
Yes.
There it does. Yep. Look at that. Perfect. Control-Enter. Now, so yeah, setting up. Oh, perfect. Okay. Control-Enter, happy with that. And I want to get to the point where it, so let's translate segment 5 here. Yeah, running out of time. Okay, so for example is poor and so you'll see as soon as I confirm this segment 5, for example, we can scroll down and it just automatically populated this one for me because it recognizes it's not confirmed. You'll notice the 100% is fuzzied out, but they're saying it's a 100% match because, hey, we've done this one before, but you're not having to translate it again. So that's kind of the perfect example of how the translation memory works. You know, if you have a segment that is similar, but let's get to a segment that's not exactly the same. So let's do this one. Oh. Cool. So there's some formatting here. That's what these little green things, or I'm sorry, purple things indicate, is that there's some formatting that these are called tags. And you can make these tags bigger, or you can get rid of them altogether. It's really whatever you want. But one of the shortcuts is, so forward needs to be bolded. So we'll just, you can highlight it, you can hit bold up here. Obviously the interface resembles that of Microsoft Word, so some familiarity there. But Control comma will, you can insert the particular tag. So there it did it for me. I know I spelled this word wrong, but if I want to just do Control comma, I can add that there. So, let me just hit enter. There. Control comma, there. Perfect, and now we can confirm it, Control Enter, and if we go down to this segment, sorry guys, bear with me here. No, that just found, I don't know why I'm saying that, but. Any questions?
Yeah, a short and sweet one. Yeah, so we know it's very challenging for these kind of tools to recognize words in pictures. And it's very hard for them to count that in the word count. So what about the latest version of Trados? Do you recognize the number of words that's represented in pictures?
No, that is not something that, because I get what you're saying.
You will get paid for this.
I see.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that. I mean, that's a common thing, does it extract words out of the images, but no, it does not. Not there yet. But, so in a nutshell, I mean, this is the real-time preview here. If we wanted to see where we are, see, here's my one translated thing, but you know, you can see it in its native format. So that's quite nice to keep up to date. And oh, here we get an 82% fuzzy match here, because it notices in our memory we have setting up your answering machine. This is setting up your answering machine continued, so we would just, you know, make the little adjustments, which would be to add the word continued. And there you go, so we'll add that one. So this is a, you know, obviously very brief overview, but that's all the time we have, so thanks.